Hi, I'm Lucille Fisher, and I'm the host of Memo Matters. And today we have Memo members Nick Athanasiadis and Reka Athanasiadis. And they own the Morphosi Academy tutoring. They do tutoring for students here in Medfield. And we're going to talk a little bit about the college preparatory tests. And they're going to help us out and give us some tips for students that that need to take the test. And I mean, all college-bound students need to take the SAT, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what exactly is the SAT.
So the SAT is a test that's is given by a company called College Board,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been around since the early 1900s, believe it or not, now it's getting a lot of colleges use it as a measure of a student's ability to reason. Okay, so in 1994, actually SAT stands for nothing right now. When it first was created, it was called this Scholastic Aptitude Test, and then they changed it to Scholastic Achievement Test.
Yeah.
And then in 1994, they said nothing. They said it just means SAT. That's
Right.
There's about 2 million students that take it worldwide every year, and it's used by most of the colleges, if not all colleges, as again for entrance.
So, I mean, I know that when my kids were going to, were getting ready to go to college, I mean, there was a lot of stress around the SAT and taking it and making sure they got a good grade, that they got a good score.
Mm-hmm.
And can you explain the scoring a little bit?
The scoring changed back in '96, so '94. I was based out of 1600 before, now it's 2400.
Okay.
Essentially, you have math section, your writing section, and your critical reading section, and they're all worth 800 points. Okay. From 2 to 800, that's the scale. So you get 2400 total. That will change March of next year. Mm-hmm. It'll go back to the 1600. So you have the current SAT has those sections plus the essay section. Mm-hmm. Okay, the essay is kind of bundled in together with the writing portion. So you get a up to 2400 test. That's it.
Yeah. So you find, I mean, with any test, we were talking about this a little bit in the early, before we started taping, but it's practice.
Absolutely.
Right,
To do it, to get the best score. And so by having, the opportunity to take the test a couple of times before you do it in real, reality,
kids
it's very
freak out over
helpful
this because it's very stressful, and a lot of times they think if you fail in this, you're doomed. Pretty much. The truth of the matter is, you can take the test multiple times, and a lot of colleges will let you submit the best portion of your test as part of your final score. So there are some people actually that, as a strategy, will say, when you take the test as if you're taking just one section. So you focus one time on the writing part, another time on the math part.
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
At the end of the day, when you have all these 3 times you've taken the test,
right,
then you submit the best on each one, and then you have a perfect looking score.
Wow.
For the colleges.
That's a great strategy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's really a good.
But a lot of kids stress by kind of doing everything all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And most kids will take it, they'll take it once or twice. They'll take it typically towards in May of their junior year.
Yeah.
And they'll take it again in, or maybe March. And they'll take it again possibly in June. Mm-hmm. Given some practice, they'll do well. And if they do not do as well, they have an opportunity to take it again the following year, October, when it's given for the first time. And it'll be okay. Because then they typically have until November to submit applications.
So you would recommend that they take it as soon as they can?
As far as the SAT is the current SAT has the level of math that you need to know is up to, you need to know geometry and a little bit of algebra too. So a typical student will have finished Algebra 2 by their sophomore year.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the junior year, they would have been taking some kind of pre-calculus course.
Right.
That's way more math than they actually need to do the test. And as far as the English portion, the writing or the reading that they have, the reading passages are at high school level.
Mm-hmm.
So if they are good English students, they'll be able to do well. They do focus a lot on vocabulary, so vocabulary is very key. And they don't focus as much on crazy grammar problems and even like commas and punctuations and things like that. So if a good student should be able to take this test. They typically, like I said, they stress out. So if as soon as they can get over that, they'll do well. Okay?
Yeah.
Now to get over that, obviously, takes a lot of practice.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Practice makes perfect.
Absolutely. And we do offer it at the school.
Yeah. So you can
multiple times.
So
they
people
can,
can, so students can come and they can take
for
it.
The community, we open.
And it's actually, I don't believe you guys. There's no charge.
No charge.
Yeah.
We open it to the community. Everybody can come.
So how often is the SAT offered?
The SAT is given, I think the first time they offer it during the year is school year, it's October, and it's given 7 times, I believe, throughout until June being the last one.
Okay.
So you could take it, you typically have to, the deadline is about 6 weeks from the test taking date, so you have up to 6 weeks before then to sign up for the test.
Yeah.
And sometimes people can kind of sign in last minute.
Yeah.
They might end up taking the test somewhere down the Cape, but
right.
they can still do it. That's
so about 7 times a year it's offered, and it's offered in different locations.
Well, it's offered in different locations, but the high schools typically will have it. Just what you're limited with is if you try to get in late, where you're going to be.
You may end up having to travel to take it.
My daughter the first time she took it in Medfield.
Medfield.
And the second time she had to go to Brockton.
Yeah.
To take it. And I think, when did Katrina take it? Katrina took it in...
No, Katrina took it in Newton.
Newton took it. Elizabeth took it in
Quincy.
That's right, I forgot.
So, are there different versions of the SAT? Are you saying, or is it just the math?
Yeah, it's okay. There's 2 types of the SAT, the reasoning test, what everybody takes.
Right.
That's essentially 10 sections. That's including a writing portion.
Right.
And they go between reading, comprehension, writing, grammar, and all that stuff, and then math. Right? So total 10 sections. But there's also the subject tests. So then you could take if you want to some colleges will ask a student that's going in for, let's say, an engineering degree or whatever have you, to take a math subject test.
Right.
That test will be much more focused on it's only math, and higher level math. And then there's subject tests for pretty much anything that you want, any subject.
Mm-hmm. So the colleges dictate that.
The colleges will ask for it.
Okay.
They want to. They're using it as a measure to compare you with other students, of course. And depending on the school, they may put more weight on it than others. The funny thing is that some of the more elite schools, they don't use that as the only criteria. They look at the overall package of a student.
Right.
So they'll look at your community work and all that stuff, and what else you do, and your grade point average and all that. Where some schools would just say, well, we have a cutoff. We're not going to take anybody who doesn't have this particular score in the for the test.
So it really varies. So it kind of behooves you to, if you have certain schools that you want to get into, it's a good thing to kind of look into.
Sure, you have to know what they want.
What they want.
Yes. Don't just take the test. Just take it. I mean, you take it. Most likely, a college you're going to go into, they'll put some weight on the SAT. Some schools may actually like the ACT better. It's another school.
Right, and tell me about that, because we found that so confusing. What's the ACT compared to the SAT? Should the kids take both? So what's your take on that?
So the SAT is a much more tricky test. The material that you need to know is a lot less.
Right.
So, like I said, for math, geometry, algebra 2 is pretty much it. And even the English part is, you need to know vocabulary, some grammar, but nothing crazy with syntax and all that. With the ACTs, more of a it's more if subject oriented. So if you're good in math, if you're a good student in math, you can probably brute force through all the problems in math. The problems may be more verbose, but they're easier to understand. With the SAT, they'll have problems that is specifically right in a way to be confusing to the
The SAT,
the SAT
is like that.
Yes, it's
Oh, tricky.
It is.
So I often compare it and say that the SAT teaches wants to test you to see how much maturity you have as a student, as being able to apply things out of the box. Well, the ACT is more testing you to see how much you know.
So the the ACT is very straightforward.
Very straightforward.
And the SAT is how do you
It's
think?
trickier.
How can you process?
Yes.
So that is a really good reason, I imagine, why it's good to take the test.
Absolutely.
Several times.
Absolutely.
Because that way you get a comfort level. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Would you?
The more you take it, we have kids that come in and they're totally, all nervous and all that, because they just, it's a long test. It's over 3 hours. And sometimes, given all the breaks that they give you when you take the test, it can go to 4.5, 5 hours even sometimes. And you're constantly you're writing, you're trying to think, calculating. And that's strenuous.
That's
right?
a lot.
So the more you do it, the more you play with it, the more you're used to the problems, the less you have to think to solve the problems, the more easier it is for you to be at peace when you're taking the test.
And that's what really that's
That's
the
what matters.
ideal.
Absolutely.
And that's what you guys try to achieve.
When we work with kids, they get homework and they expect to do the homework. Essentially, we expect them to constantly have the test in their minds on a daily basis.
Right.
And then taking full-length tests under kind of similar circumstances as that we take it for real. Kind of helps them kind of get more at peace for this.
So they find that comfort level.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then do you hear back? I mean, like Reka, when people come in, do you hear from the kids, that have done the practice with you? How does that impact them? I mean, what do you hear?
Well, a lot of times the practice is just the beginning. A lot of times, right? So we do again. It's a test. We take it. It's the scores are given to the kids. So it's up to you to do whatever you want with it at that point. A lot of the kids will come with us and take some tutoring lessons with us, or they may go off and do something else. But they do just taking the test once puts them kind of gives them a taste of it.
Right.
It's one thing to try to take it at home by yourself. It's never the same. There's always a TV, playing in the background. Your mom's yelling. Your kids, your friends are in the next room or whatever have you. So it's not the same thing. So you got to take it under some structure. 3 hours. You got to come in and do it, and kind of that does.
And again, this is a free service.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a free service that you offer.
We do that for any test, pretty much.
Right.
But, just
to allow the kids to have that experience and get that practice.
Yeah.
So I mean, that really is a great thing that you're doing to
We
offer
have
that
a lot
to
of kids that come.
the community, and that's a really terrific service that you provide. But so, are there any other tips or anything that actually, one question I would have would be: is it better for kids, to take a class, because there's like classes that you can be one of maybe 10 kids to prepare for the SAT, or what's the difference between that and a one-on-one? And what kids are better with the one-on-one?
It depends on the kids, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? So you can have a kid that actually picks up a book and is diligent enough to sit down and actually do problems and figure things out and maybe read the answers at the back. and be able to do well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Those are the, I don't know if the exceptions, depends who you are and whatever, but yes, but then you have the kids that do need help. So then help can be given through a classroom setting or one-on-one setting.
Yeah.
The classroom settings, depending where you're taking class, can be a very light coverage of what the SAT is all about. Maybe learning some tips. As far as timing goes, again, being exposed to the test over and over again kind of brings you at peace.
Right.
But what the one-on-one will give you is the fine-tuning as far as understanding what each individual problem takes to solve.
Mm-hmm.
Where in a larger classroom setting, you might get some of that, but again, you're one of 20 kids,
right.
or maybe a smaller class, so the instructor does not have the time to go into details for every single problem that an individual might have a question about.
And I also imagine that the one-on-one allows the tutor to teach to that student's style
Exactly.
of learning, because
Yes.
not every kid has the same style
Yes.
of learning.
Exactly.
Kids can get lost in a classroom.
Yeah.
In classrooms, there's definitely benefits to the classroom.
Yeah.
If a kid is a good student, just wants some exposure to the SAT, maybe learn some timing techniques, the classroom setting would be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have that one kid that wants, really has a hard time grasping how problems should be solved,
Yeah.
that kid will be lost in a classroom setting.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way they'll do well. They need the personal touch.
Yeah. I know myself, I mean, I have two children, well, they're adults now, but one had just such ease with taking standardized tests, and the other didn't. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
No, it's
So I think that it's, and it had nothing to do with intelligence, it was just the way their mind
Right.
worked.
Absolutely. I have kids that come in and they're, very, very cool. They kind of go through the test and check mark, which they don't know. They'll just move on. And then I have kids that are like, I don't know what I'm doing. So we work differently, obviously, with each kid.
Right,
Yeah, that's right.
right,
but practice does good. That's why.
Yeah, practice makes perfect. like you
right,
said.
right. So do you have any like final thoughts or recommendations for kids? I mean, what would be your three pieces of advice that you would give a junior who is starting to think, let's say a junior or a sophomore or a junior who's starting to think about taking these standardized tests for college entrance?
Well, an upcoming junior will have to think about something more than just how I'm going to prepare for it. He has
Yeah.
to think about the current SAT version and the new that's coming up in March.
Okay, so there's a change in
There's
March.
a change in March. They, like I said before, they're changing the whole structure. They're actually going to make the math a little tougher. They're going to add a little more math into it. They also have a no calculator section. They're also going to change the English portion of it. They're going to take some things out. They're not going to be as much.
So should they take the test? I mean, then
They should-
if there's a change,
They should take both.
they should take both.
They should take both.
Okay.
College will accept either.
All right, okay.
Uh,
All right,
but
that's good.
But the old SAT is well understood by everybody. We know
Mhm.
exactly what it looks like. We know exactly how to study for it.
Right.
The new one, there is guidance. There's sources of information. College Board is coming out with their guide at the end of June, I believe. And there's already some third parties that are producing a guide for
Mhm.
it. So you can study for it. We just don't know what the official one looks like yet.
Right.
So
That makes it a little.
so
Yeah, it makes
it's
it
just
challenging.
there's no must,
Sure.
take a once criteria.
Mhm.
You could take the, I would say a junior entering now, next year is junior, I would take the old SAT, take it,
Yeah.
I think you could take it even in 2016 in the early ones, take it then and then take it again in March and see what you do
Which
better.
one you do best
Yeah,
with.
absolutely.
So, any other little tips or I mean, your advice?
The SAT is not something you should take lightly. It's not something you just walk into.
Mhm.
You have to practice. Even the best students have to at least practice it.
Right.
Okay. Because, like I said, it's not, the problems that you see on the SAT are not ones you're going to see in any of your classes that you take. They're very tricky, they're worded in a particular way so that it's very difficult to understand. They give you, your choices for answers are essentially all the choices that you could possibly do if you did the problem wrong, they're there. It's almost a conniving thing in many ways. You know, if a typical student will mess up a minus sign, the answer, if you messed it up, will be there. So a lot of kids will just kind of, you know, fill in the circle and
kind of random.
Exactly.
They don't understand it, so just pick one and
And a lot of kids also think it's a race.
Yeah.
I gotta finish everything. I gotta go through every single problem. That's not the case. You can't do well without answering every single problem. The SAT will penalize you, at least the old SAT will penalize you for getting a problem wrong. They'll take a quarter point off. So you work really hard and you just lose a quarter point if you got something wrong. So, you know, what I tell students is stick with what you know. If you know you can solve a problem, solve it. If you do not know how to solve it, don't go crazy with it. Just move on to the next one.
Right.
Okay. If it's something you think maybe you can eliminate some of the answers because the gut feeling or maybe it doesn't feel right, then at that point you can actually take a guess for the answers. It's better to take a guess if you can eliminate one or two answers, or more than to not take anything. But if you do not guess so wildly, do not say I'm just going to guess just for the sake of guessing.
Right, just for the heck of it. You know,
Exactly.
I got to pick one.
Exactly.
Don't do that.
And reading the problems is key to understanding what all the parts are. There's a lot of information that's needed to solve the problem. There's information that's not needed to solve the problem. There's a lot of times there's multiple steps to a problem, obviously, and the answer from a intermediate step is also listed. So a lot of times a student will say, oh, there's my answer, but no, they're actually asking for something else. So a lot of times they'll just do all the work and just forget the last step. So you got to pay attention to the problems, reading and writing, and you know it's and math. It's a tricky test.
Yep.
Yeah.
So again, practice makes perfect.
The good thing is for the new SAT when they're coming out in 2016, the penalty is going to go away. So it won't be penalized anymore.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
But it's becoming a little tougher, a little longer. The essay will be an optional portion of it, so you don't have to take it. So it doesn't have to be as long for you. If you don't take it, then you don't have to worry about the extra time.
So anyway, so this is a real transition time then.
Exactly.
You know, and that really affects the juniors.
Yes.
The sophomores won't have to worry about it as
they
much.
just have to worry about the new one.
They just have to worry about the new
and
one.
if the seniors that have taken it again because they didn't do it very well, they will take the old one. So.
Okay. All right. So that's nice.
Yes.
Yes. And then is there a point at which the old one will not be offered anymore?
March.
Oh, March. That's it.
March.
That's it. As soon as the new one's out.
Yes.
So you really love this, don't you?
Sure, of course I do.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're seeing, you know, like I said, you see progress in these students, and
so rewarding.
Right.
It's very rewarding.
Yeah, I can imagine. I
Oh
mean,
my
I think
gosh.
anyone who works with young people and helps them, I
Oh,
give
yeah.
you
Oh,
really high
absolutely.
kudos. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. When the mom calls, and tells us the score is amazing.
Yeah.
And how happy they
Yeah,
are.
I can only imagine that's so satisfying.
Oh, absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know. But anyway, so you've given a lot of great tips today. So which will really help the students that are watching or their parents, so that their parents understand, because there's that level too where the parents need to kind of understand what's important so that they can guide their children. So I thank you so much because I know you're busy and I appreciate that you've come. And
Thank you for having us.
yeah, well, you're wonderful Memo members, and you know, you're contributing to the community all the time. And anyway, I thank you so much.
Sure.
And thank you to everyone who's watching out there. Memo offers many programs and events throughout the year, and we serve the community, and Memo matters. So I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for watching.
preceding was a production of Medfield TV, Community Shows.